really odd, but I'm really loving this alien here that I'm playing with today. And I need to finish it for a class that I'm teaching. They've gotten a lot of the technique already and how to do it. Now it's up to me to kind of like finish off some sections here and play around with it and see what on earth I can come up with. Or rather, in this case, what not on earth can I come up with? Working with watercolor because I want to keep it pure watercolor. That's the lesson. That's what we're playing with. So I don't want to go and vary too far outside of where we started. Mostly because that's just confusing to the kids. Not to mention confusing to me. And that's just not good. I get confused easy. Hey! Jeremy, how you doing? Nice to meet you. I hope you enjoy tonight. I probably have met you, but I have the memory of a steel trap. Everything gets off, bites its own leg off, and runs away really, really quickly. So I don't usually retain a lot. So my apologies if I have forgotten that we've met. You blame my ADHD brain on that one. So I take full responsibility for my brain function. Oh, thank you for the high award. Cooking steak. Oh, man, I haven't had beef since like 2012. I kind of miss it sometimes. Most of the time, my body reminds me it's probably not a good idea for my personal body, so I don't tend to do that. Probably, yeah. That sounds familiar. Although I don't know if I'm quite the HAPS star at this point. I haven't really done enough or been on enough for that. I'm certainly not a daily user. I'm barely a weekly user. I try to do a weekly, but that little odd thing called life gets in the way. But that's okay. We plug along, we do what we can, and we muscle through. But today, I just threw in this pop-up because I had to get this illustration done, and I figured, what the heck? Let's just invite some friends to watch, have some fun, chit-chat about space aliens and science fiction and all sorts of things like that. Well, very much welcome. Love to have you here. It's a lot of fun. Normally we meet on Sundays for Jason's Draw and Paint Club. And it's very odd and rare, although I would like to do it more often now that summer is approaching, for me to be online randomly doing these pop-ups. I have a lot more artwork to get done this summer, so I have a feeling that I'm going to be engaging in HAPS quite frequently for the sessions that I don't have to record for my tutorials, which are on Vimeo. Which unfortunately are exclusive to Rhode Island School of Design while I am teaching those courses. So I cannot release those right now. Yes, I'm live. Molly, I'm glad that you said you're live and not, you're alive, because that makes me feel almost like kind of weird. But yeah, doing that daily thing, Jeremy, like, I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Yeah, it's been a huge challenge. I only started doing this stuff last year anyway. So what we're listening to, by the way, is Portable Jesus, electronic music out of Boston and Rhode Island and now New York. And the gentleman went to Berkeley and does amazing electronic work. You can find him on Bandcamp, find him on SoundCloud. I think SoundCloud is actually easier to find him on. So Portable Jesus, not a name most people would forget. So Molly, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to my little pop-up show. Having a little bit of fun with one of my space aliens for my class. I don't know, like I do these creature assemblages for my drawing and painting space fantasy class, and I kind of get a little too far into it sometimes. So much so that the tutorials tend to lapse before I can get the the creature done, because the creatures are so elaborate. Um, I bite off a little bit more than I can chew when I'm making these guys. But I love it. Oh god, I love creature creation. It's like my favorite thing to do. Thank you, personal editor. Whoa. Yeah, I wish I had the time to do daily drawing. I try. I really, really, really try. But I'm a full-time school teacher and part-time uh, professor at Rhode Island School of Design, and plus, the whole like dad and husband and that sort of gig. I try to make sure that I leave time in my life for that too, because that's what kind of keeps me put together and sane. Not that other people don't. Big outside gas kiln. Oh boy. Oh, that's not saying that nothing could go wrong with that at all, ever. Nothing ever. I go past the local college here. I live right near Rhode Island College, because I'm in Rhode Island, and that's in Providence, partially in my town. It's like in 3 different towns, and they have such a gigantic kiln facility. It's insane. There's every kind of kiln. They're all outside under, they're under a roof, but the roof is, it's pretty much open air because of the heat that sucker generates. It's kind of crazy. Ugh, that's too bad. I hate the fact that you have to get lack of sleep to get your art in. That's not fair, man. You should be able to keep yourself healthy too. Me, I am blessed with the fact that stuff like this is part of my job, because I have to make these tutorials for these kids. And the next phase of this tutorial, this guy has to be pretty much finished for me to be able to explain next steps past this, like inking and colored pencil and using things to really detail this out. But I can't record every second. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fantastic, Molly. Yeah, I just can't do this like every single second of this. It gets so monotonous to watch, even in time lapse. I lose the kids. They're watching too much of this process. So I do bits and pieces, take a photograph. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jeremy. I've always had a lot of fun as an illustrator. Just kind of like really messing around with how far can I press things. And I've learned a lot in my 30 years that I've been doing this. Not all of it was without price. But that's another story for another day. It's been fun though. By the way, I almost forgot to do all my whole little like reset things here. Okay, if you are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Haps, which you should be watching on Haps because Haps is really cool. He says because he doesn't know who's listening. No, actually, it really is. That's why I use this app. Please subscribe, follow, enjoy. You never know when I'll show up. But I know that I generally show up on Sunday evenings at 6 o'clock Eastern Time with my Jason's Draw and Paint Club show. You can paint along with, you can draw along with, you can sit back and relax to the melodious tones of my funny little voice. Think of it like a bizarre Bob Ross that never quite covers the same topic. We deal with watercolor. I go with acrylics. Lately, we've been doing a lot of landscape work. I'm going to try to do a spacescape in a session very soon. And what I would love to do with that spacescape is I think I'm going to break out the airbrush and I'm going to do some live airbrush sessions. So that's coming up in the next few weeks. I'm going to lay down base tones and everything first. So we will have some live airbrush sessions. I'll be airbrushing nebulae and stars and planets and all sorts of amazing stuff. I have so much fun with the airbrush, and it's a wonderful tool for illustrators. It really, really is. Much to my surprise, I found out it's been around for quite a while. It was like the 1920s. It started the 100th anniversary or so of people using airbrush as a medium. I originally grabbed it because I thought that I was going to make a career out of, painting custom cars and things. But then I was reminded I live in New England, where custom cars can only really be out on the road like 2 to 3 months a year. Not lucrative to be doing custom painting on cars around here. I'm not in California. I'm not in, Florida or any tropical sort of environment where you'd get away with driving something like that at least 9 months out of the year. Nope. Not the best. So I dropped out of that. There's a lot of masters of that craft around here that do beyond gorgeous work. And, starting out in my 30s was probably not where I wanted to be going with that. But we all experiment. We all try to do different things. And I came back to my illustration life when somebody that I was studying with, who was gracious enough to try to help me and mentor me a little bit, looked at my work and said, "Why don't you just illustrate?" And so, it kind of like struck me as, why don't I just illustrate? So I've been diving into that slowly but surely. Like everybody else, the day job takes precedent. You got to do what earns the bread and butter, right? And lately, because of COVID, I've had more time to do my stuff. What that means is that I get ahead on my personal projects and whatnot. This is not necessarily a personal project. This is definitely, for the class I'm teaching. So, there's certain things I have to do with it. I have to use the same watercolors the kids use, which, by the way, is slightly maddening. Only because I have a lot of tools at my disposal, but they don't. So whatever's in the kit that I sent them is what I have to use. So frustrating. As I sit here, I'm doing stuff, and I'm like, I could do that if I can't use that. They don't have one of those. So stuff like where I'm looking at this going, man, I really want to do highlights in gouache. Not going to happen. Not until after I've put this aside and done everything I can for the class with it, then I can start enhancing it. I've done stuff for classes and then taken it and put it digital and enhanced it that way too. Ugh. So what's everybody up to? We know, Jeremy, you're cooking a steak, and Molly, you're ready to fire up an outdoor kiln, which I'm super jealous. Not that I actually would know what to do with one. I just like playing with fire. Wait a minute, that came out loud. I'm sorry. I didn't. You didn't hear. Nobody heard me say it. Can I edit that out? Post, please. Um, Eating now. Oh, I already ate tonight. It's right now, 6:47 here on the East Coast of the U.S. So my dinner time was a little bit ago, about an hour ago. I usually try to sit down with one or another member of the family and try to eat. And that song is getting to my brain right now, and I don't want that to happen. So right now I'm using a liner brush. It's a script liner. But with what I'm doing, I'm trying to get that texture of veins and really get these tiny little corners. And dips, you want to get something that's, yes, in Michigan. Okay, so yeah, you're running on same relative clock, you're just an hour behind me. I got a call tonight with a buddy who lives in, well, all my high school friends and I get together every Tuesday night. Another thing I can thank COVID for, because we used to see each other maybe twice a year, and then, we really the one fella who keeps us, all of us, put together most of the time. It's kind of like, we should just meet up on Zoom, and we can do it like every week. And I'll be darned, we've done it pretty much every single week since March of last year, and it's fantastic. I forgot how much I missed my buddies from high school. And first couple of sessions were, let's talk about memories from high school, but now it's, there's still this nice cohesion between us. We don't always get along with everything and really agree on everything, but it's still really nice to kind of hang out with them and chit chat and laugh, and help each other. We all have adult things that we deal with, so it's nice to have that support group. Thank you. I'm done talking. I'm just going to take a little while. Hello, Lynchburg City. El Shabazz. So nice to see you. I don't know if we've met, but hello and welcome to my little pop-up session, doing a little pop-up sci-fi illustration today. Working on an alien for a class that I'm teaching. With a little bit of electronica in the background. And my blathering on. So those that have tuned in, if you have not subscribed, please do it. Love it if you subscribe. You can see whenever I'm popping up and popping in and doing something crazy and creative. And that goes for whatever platform you're seeing this on. So if you're watching it on YouTube, if you're seeing me on Facebook, on Twitter, or right here on Haps, which you should be subscribed to Haps, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe or follow or whatnot button wherever you are, and you will get informed whenever I pop in and start doing really crazy stuff. It is so nice to meet you as well. So tell me, what do you do? You know what? I always found that question kind of rude. So one should not be defined by what they do. Are you? That's probably a better question to ask. How you doing? How is life in your neck of the woods? So I'm still kind of lost up here with the armor. I don't quite know where I'm going to go with that. I'm letting that rest right now. I threw a little bit of yellow ochre in there, thinking I might start working towards a gold tone. I don't know. We'll find out. I'm improvising right now. I can never start up my lawnmower without thinking of this song. Juggernaut Apparatus by Portable Jesus. If you haven't heard of him, look him up on SoundCloud. Who's laughing now? Oh, thank you again, Chris. How are you? Good to see you, man. We're just jamming out to some Portable Jesus, having some sci-fi fun here. Our lives, we must see through this cloud disguise. Oh, thank you very much. I'm having a lot of fun with this one, actually. And I was, oddly enough, I'm sitting here and I just got an email notification that the class that I'll be teaching this for, teaching drawing painting space fantasy, just reached its minimum fill. So now I'm actually going to have enough students to really kind of like sink my teeth in and have a great time. We have minimal numbers that we need to hit usually with these things. It's for Rhode Island School of Design Continuing Ed, which is blessedly online, by the way. So if anybody's looking to pick up some courses and whatnot, check out RISD. Such an amazing school, and their courses are phenomenal. I teach in the young artists, so unless you're, 13 to 17, you can't take mine, but that's okay. I know lots of the adult instructors, and they're brilliant. There's a standard that RISD has for who they let work for them, and I'm honored that they felt that I hit the standard. I don't know what I did, except that I'm relatively malleable because I can teach illustration, I can teach a whole bunch of other random things. One of my favorite classes, the Steampunk Fabrication Lab. Oh, assemblage and found object and upcycling to make super cool objects. And I'm a steampunk at heart. I love steampunk. It makes me so happy. And today, by the way, I think is International Steampunk Day. Now that I mentioned steampunk, um, just dropping that in there. You know, give some love to your local steampunk society. I'm probably going to be on for about another half hour-ish or so. Do have another meeting I usually go to at 8. So I am more than happy to hang out and paint and jibber jabber into my microphone. Jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber. Let's see what will happen if I switch mics here. A mic on the thing right in front of me. Yay! Okay, good. So that's the mic that's right in front of my face, which is probably better for hearing all my inane dribble. So, does anybody else work with watercolor in here? Oh, I love making the steampunk stuff, Chris. It is like, it's so much fun. And I do it a lot in illustration too. I tend to do steampunk illustration where I take scenes from Shakespeare and make them steampunk. So I've got stuff like the witches from Macbeth. I've got one of my favorites is Steam Puck. So I'm in Midsummer Night's Steam, which I have like that. I have all these little goblins and gears, and I have so much fun with that. I gotta revisit that. I gotta go back to that. Also, the novel that I wrote is based in sort of a steampunk genre as well. So a lot of the illustrations that are in there are very steampunk. All right, I think I can give this a little bit of a rest now. Get on with what I've been avoiding, which is all of this amazing armor and all these secondary pieces, and I don't know what to do with them. It makes me so unhappy. But I think I might have to just bring up some colors that I used already and enhance them. I'm trying to stick with a relatively cohesive palette as well. Look at me getting all fancy with my art talk. So it latches together nicely. The reason being is that what I'm more than likely going to do the next session of the lesson for this is I am going to take this illustration and I am going to take it out off the page, slice it right off the page with an X-Acto, really, really delicately, right along the edges, and I will collage it into a background. Because I think that's a valuable sort of thing to do. I find myself sometimes even creating digital imagery that looks like the painting or the drawing that I'm working on, because I can get a lot more detailed and do a lot of like really infinitesimal detail in it. So when I go ahead and I explore bringing it into that final stage, it's just so much more impressive on the canvas. So my cat is in the window, and she has spotted the rabbits outside the window and is very disturbed because she can't get through the window. And it's actually kind of delightfully fun to watch her pawing at the glass and not quite knowing how to make it through it. That may seem cruel, but I don't like that song. So again, I'm trying to get as much detail as I can in here with the watercolor before I go ahead and really hit um, the detail that I want to get in with colored pencil and ink. And I think I'm going to stick with colored pencil though, because I can use that in conjunction with the watercolor a little bit more. You know, transparent medium over transparent medium usually helps. So once again, if you are watching on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Haps, please subscribe or follow or whatever the particular app's designation for showing me a little love is. You'll be able to follow whenever I do my regular sessions on Sunday or pop-ups, or maybe Sundays, a Sunday or two here and there might get a little cancellation. You might say you might not want to, plan that barbecue that you wanted to without having to worry about missing anything. And the best part of all of this is that all of these sessions are recorded on the sister platforms, or the attached platforms that I just spoke of. So if you miss anything, you can go ahead and you can backlog into the archive, which should be on my Facebook, on my Twitter. Oh yeah, Twitch too. I keep forgetting I'm on Twitch as well. Or YouTube. So you'd be able to grab any tutorials or fun shenanigans that you might have missed on all those platforms. And we've done a lot of stuff. We've done watercolor markers. We've done cartooning. We did some ink work. Acrylics, of course, is one of the standards. And the funny part is that when I was a kid, I hated painting. Like, I despised it. My mother, who was one of my art teachers, used to beg me to try something new, get out of my colored pencil fog. And I just, no, I didn't want to. I didn't want to challenge myself. And here I am doing it all the time. Oh, I'm just some sort of weird little madman. All right, let's see. What do we want to do next? I know. I'm going to grab some bright orange. I think I have a yellow orange in here. Yes, I do. I'm being a bad little person. I'm going ahead and I'm using one of my other watercolors, not my student grade. Oh no, I'm using the good stuff. whatever will I do? So shh, don't tell the kids. Hey, Mr. Leclerc, why can't I match that color? No reason, I don't know. You're just not mixing correctly. I'm sorry, my friend. But I really want a beautiful bright yellow orange on these eyes. They have to sparkle. Just simply glow. There we are. Ah, yes. Ooh, I like that a lot. Oh, that's a fun one. Ooh, I think I'm going to have to utilize that somewhere else now. Well, I am going to have to utilize it somewhere else because I'm one of those people that's like really into um, color balance when it comes to color theory and making sure that I do have a tone or a shade very close to that somewhere else in here. So I started with a little yellow ochre on these, and let's get them a little closer to gold. If I really wanted to use gold, I'd just go get some acrylic gouache and just gold them out. Guess what I'm going to do after the class is done? I'm going to get some gold on these. So this is kind of like a mustard yellow, which, combined in the right way with brown and some white, you can get some gorgeous faux metal stuff going on. I don't want it to be too metallic. I still want it to be, this armor is more exoskeleton, so that exoskeletal kind of organic feel, I still want to make sure that is retained in this. It's almost like a natural armor that this creature has adapted. And again, being watercolor, it's going to mix with the tones underneath as well. And since I'm going to also enhance this with colored pencil, there's a lot that I can do. If it were a film, I'd say there's a lot I can do in post. So there's certain things that, yes, I want to handle now, but since it's an illustration for sci-fi, it does have to be a lot tighter and a lot more definitive than what it is right now. And I really am not able to do that successfully with just watercolor to the extent that I want to. But there's obviously just certain things you cannot do with watercolor. I cannot do with colored pencil, and this is one of them. Playing with the water itself and getting those beautiful, beautiful puddles going on. There's something to be said about letting loose and allowing watercolor to do what it wants. I guess that was always my problem when I was younger. I couldn't deal with something I couldn't control. That sounds really bad out of context. Let's be honest, even in context, that sounds weird.
You don't get the mattress. That's sort of ridiculous.
Well, if that's not an appropriate soundtrack for this evening's painting, I don't know what is. Hi, Tiffany. I don't know what it is. This is an alien for a class that I am teaching um, on illustrating space fantasy. And so this is kind of one of the complicated watercolor lessons, and working with complementary colors and how do you play around with creature building by just using an assemblage of different creatures that you know, because the imagination is wonderful, but it really, there's always a reference to something in there. Yeah, absolutely. I just got a rush in my mouth. I'm sorry. Definitely, I let the art take me different places. When I was sketching this guy, I started with the head, and then just kind of like started building up this exoskeleton around it, and the rest of it just kind of came out of that. Um, so it was an interesting time. We had fun. We laughed. We cried. Let's face it, mostly I laughed. I don't even know if this thing has tear ducts. I don't know if it can cry. Hadn't thought that far ahead. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's always kind of like just letting it happen. Like I said with the watercolor, some of the best detail and texture I've ever gotten is, you know, completely by chance. One of my favorite tools to use when I'm doing watercolor is a paper towel because it just I can get so much texture out of that. Oh, it's one of my favorite tunes, Green Hills of Earth. If you look on my YouTube, you can find an experimental video uh, piece of art made to this particular song. I also, I direct a lot of theater and I design a lot of theater, and I use a lot of this music as the soundtracks for what I use. He's got so many albums. I do, but only when I'm working on, as far as the spray bottle question goes, only when I'm working on something really huge. Um, I mean, this is literally in my sketchbook, and I think that would be a little bit too much, but I actually did, all the classic methods like, you know, adding salt to the painting, using the spray bottle. One of the I actually like watered down acrylic in a spray bottle for when I'm making faux textures. When I'm doing like theatrical scene work. Um, One of my most successful faux works was painting a floor uh, as the sand from a beach, and that was using watered down acrylic in a spray bottle in several different colors over and over again. Did some acting in high school. Cool. Do you mix your paint with mediums? Again, in acrylic, yes. In watercolor, no. Um, I rely on just the color itself with the watercolor. And what did you enact in high school, if I may ask? My director in high school used to pick the most outlandish, way out there things in the world to have us do. Um, but we were a very small club and worked out of, you know, section of the school that was absolutely not meant for theatrical performance. So when I am working with mediums, by the way, it's usually because I have not named this. I don't know what species it is. I have no clue yet. I don't even know what story it's from. I don't have a particular story for it, which is usually a no-no in my world. I normally have stories behind whatever I'm doing. But since this one has been mostly an improvisational creation, there's no real story attached to it because I haven't really thought about where it's from and all that sort of stuff. I usually have that sort of mapped out, but not this time. Oh, the Hobbit Mantis Man. I don't, that the head definitely has kind of a mantis trait to it. Might have been subconscious on my part. Um, I'll consider it. Being that it's an alien species, I don't. Um, I'll probably avoid the word man in there. Uh, it's rather humanist of me. But I like the mantis part. I have to make some sort of derivation of that. I don't know what derivation I would make, but sometimes I just reach back into Old Gaelic or Latin and I name things off of that. Um, one of my children's pieces that I'm working on right now, I plan on doing something much more with it because I really think that they're adorable. Um, are my Quirkians, and it's not because they're quirky; it's because the biological Latin for oak tree is Quercus. So they are little like twig beings who have acorn hats. And so they're kind of like made out of oak. So that's my little Quirkians. Wow. Yeah, that's I've read a version of The Hobbit as a play, and I love Tolkien and I love The Hobbit, and I really didn't like the turns that had to be made in that particular version to be able to work theatrically. There were some plot lines that were completely degenerated into something totally different, and it made me very unhappy. So I actually, as a director, have never done that one, um, only because I guess I'm more nerd than director when it comes to stuff like that. This isn't part of the canon at all. Can't do that. And I'm usually not one of those people. I'm usually like, screw the canon. Let's do something fun with this. But yeah, no. I don't know. I'll look into it again. Maybe I've softened in my old age. Alrighty. Getting kind of dark down the bottom. I'm going to have to put some of that dark up here. I'm going to make sure that my composition is weighted in shadow and light as well as color. If I don't, like, 90% of illustration is how you deal with shadow and light. And what's going to happen is even after I paste this onto whatever background it's going to end up with, it's still going to have to, go somewhere. Okay. Mantiso. Oh. So that'll be the plural of the race of the race of Mantisa. Or Mantisi. That's it, Mantisi. Race of Mantisi. Like that. Very good. Thank you for helping me with that one. That made my life a little bit easier. Now I can refer to it as something when I'm doing my tutorials. And we'll have to credit you, Tiffany, with that. Creative naming by Tiffany. Is it pronounced Seigel or Siegel? I can't see from here. It's little tiny text on my computer. Whoa! Stiegel. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that's like super good marketing. to do that, particularly for a high school. That's a smart move on your director's part to grab something that is about to enter into cultural infamy, whether it was good or bad. The movie, whether the movie was going to be good or bad, still being, coming out before that was a really smart move. I'm trying to think if I ever did anything like that. I don't think so. I'm one of those really annoying high school directors that picks something artsy over something popular. There's only a couple of Disney plays that I would ever direct myself, and I've already done them. I won't be doing those again. And that would be Peter and the Starcatcher, which is freaking brilliant, and Aida, which, you never really thought that like a full-on operatic tragedy would come out of Disney. It really didn't. It came out of Elton John and Tim Rice, but it was so good. One of my faves. Absolutely one of my faves. Oh, that's fantastic. I love it when that happens for people. I have this little tiny black box, so when we sell out, it's not doesn't always feel as much of a big deal. Yay, we sold out the under 100 seats that we have. I got friends that run theaters that have 2,000 seats in them. Oh, we sold out every night. And I'm like, oh, it must be nice to have a community that big to play from. But then again, I've only got 250 kids in the school, so little tiny charter. All right, if I keep going on this, I am going to absolutely, completely screw it up. It has reached a point where it now needs definition that I can only give it with another media. And it's 7:30, which is just about where I wanted to stop for the evening. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, I know I just changed the light. I changed the lighting so that I wouldn't shock you with the next thing because, yeah, what happens next is we switch over our cameras to this, and I usually get a pretty big glare off the head when I've got that light on, so we don't want to do that to you. Thank you so much for coming to this pop-up. Please subscribe, like, whatever, depending on what platform you're looking at. I had a lot of fun just kind of like jibber jabbering and working on this piece of art. I think this summer we're going to have a lot more of these little pop-ups as I have to make more and more art for my tutoring sessions. So thank you very much. And as I always say, stay safe, stay healthy, and make art.